12:30. I will call the meeting to order. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Martin, 5 minutes. What do you got for us?
Why don't we just do the two due frame rentals I have first.
Okay.
We have a birthday party on Saturday, June 18th, 2022, arriving 1 p.m., departing 6 p.m., number of people 45. Liquor is no. It's Taylor Street side pavilion number 1. Then we have on June 18th, 2022, arriving 8 a.m., departing 8 p.m. No liquor, number of people 200. It's a graduation party. Large pavilion and gazebo and a large open field. That's our two frame rentals that we have for tonight. I also have a request for a pour license. The South Hadley and Granby Chamber of Commerce is going to be having a meeting at Something Special Cafe and Catering on 181 West State Street, Granby, Mass. It's going to be held on May 18th, 2022. They are looking for a pour license for beer and wine. They say they're not going to be charging, but what they do is, as part of the get-together, they do serve alcohol. So, in the past, former town council Eddie Ryan has stated, well, even though they're not selling alcohol, they do need a pour license, which is basically a 1 day.
Right.
Okay. Now, would it be the chamber? I don't know if the board wishes to waive the fee, which would be $100, or not to waive the fee.
I'm okay with waiving that.
Because they're not selling, it's just being able to open bottles and serve the guests during the meeting.
I don't have an issue. No, I'm fine with that.
So, what we'll do, we'll put together a 1 day license and have the board sign it at the meetings.
Works.
Okay. Do want to remind everybody that the annual town meeting is next Monday, May 9th, 7 p.m. at the East Meadow Gymnasium. We are not going to be at the high school. We are now going to be meeting at East Meadow School.
I'm assuming we're going to be using the entrance between the cafeteria and the gymnasium?
I don't know.
Okay.
I am not in charge of that part. That would be the moderator and town clerk who will dictate where we enter.
Okay.
And also, we have our clickers in for, we rented the electronic voting clickers for this meeting to see how they work. And they are in my office on Wednesday morning. The moderator and I and town clerk are planning to test them out to see, to make sure we know what we're doing.
Yeah. How many of them?
We have 300 clickers.
That'll cover us.
The turnout? Yeah, we
Yeah, that'll cover us. Okay.
And it's now 5:34, and I don't know if you want me to continue or not. I don't see Mr.
Nope.
Boyd. I don't see Mr. Boyd on the view.
I don't know. Kevin's coming
Someone
in.
walking now.
That's Kevin. Is there someone behind him?
Yep.
Yep. Our 535 is here.
Okay.
Hello, Chief.
Hello.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
Come on up.
Okay.
You're right. Perfect timing. How are you this evening?
I'm fine.
It's good to hear.
Ryan, could you just explain to the board what you're planning on doing on the property that is currently your quick background?
Okay. So, at the 7 Carver Street property where we have our main farmyard, we are looking to construct a barn, packing barn building for washing and storing produce. I think you probably got the copies of the paperwork.
They have all the people.
Yes.
So we received a grant from the from the Food Security Infrastructure Grant Program, which is part of the, I don't know, some part of Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts. I don't believe it's actually the Department of Agriculture. And so they're gonna fund $500,000 for us to construct this building. The building will be a combination of the existing solar shed, the building that we have with the solar panels on the top. That building currently doesn't have any walls, it's essentially just a roof, beams and a roof. So this project will finish that building in terms of adding walls, it'll add a concrete floor. And then immediately behind that building, north of that building, there will be a new construction that is roughly 54 feet by 68 feet. I don't know if you got the color copy version or not.
No, we get black and white.
You see all the greenhouses. So this is sandwiched. Here's the solar shed, and it's sandwiched between the tractor barn and the greenhouses and behind the solar shed. So that will be the new construction. And that will be ultimately space for us to wash vegetables and store vegetables inside of it. So the question that the select board, I guess, has jurisdiction over, since the APR on the property is held both jointly by the Department of Agriculture and the town of Granby, the town needs to sign off that it's okay to do an agricultural building on the farmland. So I think we got a form, which I'm hoping we'll be able to get signed, that will agree to this.
Do either of you have any questions?
Anything from any of the abutters complaining or think it's a good idea? Or any comments from anybody?
I doubt if the abutters know about it. It's not, it's not adjacent to any of the abutters property.
Okay.
It's really in the very middle of all the stuff that we already got going on. And in terms of the land, the land where this new construction will be is, it's pretty much entirely in the shadow of the solar shed. So in terms of being able to grow anything there, put a greenhouse there, do something in terms of utilizing that ground for actual crop production, it's not going to work out because of the shade that's already there.
Okay, got it.
So to me, it makes a lot of sense. If you need to build a barn, which you do, that's going to be a good part, good spot to put it.
Do you have anything, Glenn?
I have the giant plans, if that's of interest, you can roll out and all that sort of thing.
So you're gonna be going in front of the planning board?
I think that's required.
Yep.
The contractor that we've hired, Blake Scott, I don't know the name of his company, but that's his name. General Construction and Environmental.
Just the size of the
But
barn?
yeah, he's already submitted this to the building inspector,
Yeah.
who I think indicated that it needs to go to
Yeah.
the planning board.
Rick, that's when they'll notify the abutters. When it goes to the planning board,
Yeah.
they'll notify
They'll
the
notify,
abutters.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that process needs to happen.
Yep.
Whatever the normal process is for approving a building. I think the only real question tonight is whether,
Is whether we allow.
they do this sort of construction in this case on the protected farmland. The line you might see on your paperwork for the protected on this, but the house lot and the barn, at least the sales barn, are in the exclusion from the APR, so there's
Okay.
a line that runs about 50 or 20 feet in front of the solar shed. which is where the line between the exclusion and the other protected parcel. So it's just on the protected side of that line. I believe the state tells me that, you know, the Department of Agriculture also has to sign off on this since they jointly hold the influence, and they're ready to sign off on it as soon as the town approves it.
In my understanding, unless I missed a section, is this new building will be completely agricultural in use, basically for packing, cleaning,
Yeah, it's
storing.
strictly for agricultural use. It'll support our business, growing its own produce. So,
Okay.
so pretty much going to be designed for washing produce and storing produce and toilet supplies, rats boxes, and stuff like that.
Will it be storing any equipment, any machinery other than the pallet jacks?
I don't anticipate a whole lot. I mean, probably small equipment, but it's actually, I mean, currently we generally park our tractors underneath the solar shed, so we're going to have to relocate the parking of those tractors to other places because they won't be able to park in there anymore.
Well, and that was, I guess I've seen them parked there, and that was my question. Will
Yeah.
part of it be turned into a garage facility, or is it just, you'll find other places for those?
There are going to be other places for the tractors to park. The front of this the front of the existing solar shed is going to be made into a loading dock area so that box trucks can back up to it for loading and unloading produce. So likely those trucks will be backed up to it a lot of the time. Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem about where the tractors are going to park, but we've got plans.
It'll work out.
Yeah. I think most of the language in the back of your packet is just the original APR document. So, 2001 or so when it went in place.
Chris, has this gone through town council? Is there any issues with it? Nothing.
Are you done with your questions?
No, I'm okay.
I'm all set.
You haven't? I personally have no problem with this. I think that it's just going to be beneficial to Red Fire Farm and their business to have it done. So if anybody else doesn't agree with me, speak now. In that case, I will move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
They'll
get it?
Brian will sign it tomorrow. He can stop by. I'll give you the sign copy.
I'm not
Or whenever
Not tomorrow, but sometime soon.
Whenever you can stop by. I just like to get a copy of
Yes.
the sign copy.
Okay, you've got paperwork, so I'll give you all the.
I have all the paperwork here.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll be in touch and I'll like to.
Okay. It'll be out with Dale on the front desk.
Okay. All right, maybe
Okay.
Wednesday.
Thank you.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Let me know if you ever need anything. You good?
Okay, before we move into new business, I have one other topic I'm going to bring up too. Okay. You have in your packet a letter from Melnick Law Offices.
Sure about that?
Should be one there. This is related to GRANBY Ave. This Raphael came into my office. She has a concern over,
I don't have it.
Me neither. It's not in here. Is it in correspondence? staple into something else?
Nope, I can't see it. All right. Basically, if you want, I can walk through it. Mr. McPhail came in at the end of Grandview Ave. The highway department created a turnaround for their plow trucks to be able to easily plow, turn around, and come back out,
Right.
back to Amber Street.
Part of it's on their property, right?
Huh?
Part of it's on their property, that's
It's
a
on their
concern?
property, yes,
Yeah.
okay. And it's, I believe it's paid also, okay. However, the town never received an easement to be able to do that. Ms. McPhail is concerned, she has no problem that we're using it as a turnaround,
Mhm.
but she has a concern if the town continues to use it for a prolonged period of time, the town will turn around and say it's their property because they was using it for a prolonged period of time. So, number one, if you look at the deeds say that Grandview Ave extends X number of feet from Amber Street. That does not include the turnaround. When you look at various maps, they have the little turnaround area identified as part of Grandview Ave. That's not true, because Grandview Ave ends in a straight line. I think it's 250 feet from Amber Street. Okay. While Ms. McPhail doesn't have a problem with us using it as a turnaround, at some point, she does want to be able to, if she so desires, to subdivide part of her property at the end of Grandview Ave. And at that point, she would like to be able to use the turnaround and as considered a public access to Grandview Ave because we are using it as a turnaround. I did speak with town council. He says the board can approach this in two ways. One, we could try and negotiate an easement for the turnaround. The other way is to see if Ms. McPhail would be amenable to granting the town a license to use that part of the property as our turnaround. But the caveat is, a license is not filed with the registry of deeds, and it's only good as long as both parties are willing to allow it to occur. There's no legal substance for us to continue to use it if either Ms. McPhail or a subsequent owner or her heirs or whoever decide that no, they don't want the town using that anymore. Then they can just tell us, no, we're not allowed to use it, and we will not have access to that terminal. So it's up to the board to decide what they want to do. And Glenn, being on the planning board, you're well aware that if Ms. McPhail wants to subdivide her property near Grandview Ave, that would go from the planning board, and the planning board would decide if she has sufficient frontage
Yep.
to allow the subdivision. Ms. McPhail's here. Did I get it correct?
Pretty much.
Okay. You want to add anything else to it, or?
Well, it's hard to add to because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand everything you were saying, but basically what he was saying is the way I presented it to you. I never considered what you were talking about as far as a license because I didn't know that existed. It doesn't sound like a good idea anyway. And what was the first one? What did you call that?
To do an easement, just like you did with the utility company.
Right.
You grant an easement to use that part of your property for our turnaround.
Okay, so how would that, can you elaborate on that a bit, how that would work?
We would have our attorney draft up a document regarding an easement for us to be able to use whatever the dimensions are to turn around. And then you would sign off, and then that would be filed with the registry of deeds. And that would grant us permanent use of that turnaround for our plow trucks at the end of Granby Way.
So it would be permanent,
Yes, sir.
but the land would be my land.
But we have a permanent easement to use it, just like the
Right,
utility
So what would
companies.
happen if I did want, I don't want to develop that land. My son, who most likely will inherit it, he doesn't want to develop it. But at some point, someone might, it might change their mind, or someone, maybe a grandchild, someone might want to develop it. So at that point, what would happen if we wanted to use the cul-de-sac as frontage? for
That would be up to the
lots
planning board to decide
At that time.
if it's sufficient to meet being on a public way at that point. Okay, that would be a planning board decision. That's not this board's decision, not my decision, okay?
But the planning board would decide, like, as far as how much frontage we need, or if we can use it at all.
On our bylaws, in order to subdivide, okay, a piece of property, you have to abut a public way. Okay, Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, no.
And so you would come in and you would say, you want to subdivide your 100 acres. You want to break off 2 other acres. I'm just using this as an example.
Ours was 100, yeah.
But I'm just using this as an example.
Yeah.
You want to break off 2 building lots at the end of the Grandview Ave portion of that parcel. You would file that request, or whoever owns that, would file a request with the planning board to be able to create those 2 building lots at the end of Grandview. Okay. They would go through a process and they would determine if the easement that you granted us now or in the past, before we would go into the subdivision, would constitute enough of a abutting of a public way to allow you to subdivide. Correct.
Depending on the property, you have to look out the amount of footage, the frontage that you're gonna have. It's gotta meet the bylaws. And without actually, seeing the property, I think you'd have to, for yourself, is decide what you wanna do, whether now or in the future, kinda guessing down the road, and probably think about that before you get into anything that, an easement, that's it. As soon as it's done, it's done. That means you've given the town permission to use that part of the road. It's still yours, but you've given the town the right and permission to use it.
But if a subdivision or just a couple lots are added, from what I understand, is the easement goes with the, they say if we broke it into 2 lots, each facing the cul-de-sac. And the easement would go right down between the 2 lots. And the 2 lots would actually each have, would end up owning part of that easement. The easement continues with the land.
It does. It goes with the, whatever is sold, like now that property is yours.
Right.
So if it's
But say
split
you have
up-
a cul-de-sac like this, and you cut right down the middle, and one lot gets this half, and one lot gets this half, the owners of each of those halves would have to accept that there's an easement going down.
They'd have to accept it.
And, right, and when if they purchase that lot, they purchase it with an easement going down to their lot.
Yes.
part of the lot.
Yep.
But that wouldn't prevent that from happening. I mean, you can still,
It's up to the person who wants to buy the lot.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You can still sell them.
You can still sell it. Doesn't,
If it's gonna end up being 2 lots, and the way it is now, it would look like the easement would go right down between the 2 lots. You could sell it like that, as is with an easement, and there'd still be plenty of room to build a house or whatever you wanted to do. So it's just someone, well, even like when I bought the property, there's a, electric company lines going through. So we bought it with knowing that, and knowing that we couldn't build under those wires or within their easement allowance. So you buy property knowing that, but
Right.
you can buy and sell property with those easements, and the easements just go to the property.
Yes, you could, absolutely.
So that shouldn't make any difference. I mean, it might make a difference to a buyer. Somebody might say, well, I don't want it because of that, but
Right.
there's a lot of reasons people don't want to buy a certain property, but you could still have that property, it could still exist, and could still have a house. So I'm trying to kind of secure.
All I can tell you, if it's a lot, I can't tell you whether or not they can build on it or not. That's something totally different, whether it's a buildable lot or not, if it meets all the requirements. I mean,
Well, yeah, I realize.
that's something different, but,
Right, but I'm just,
yeah.
like, right now, my actual property line is at the end of Grandview, and it's about 51 feet right there, which isn't enough to build a house on.
My suggestion would to be, to get on the agenda for the planning board, and you can let them know what you're looking to do, and get some feedback from them as to, without looking at the plot and the lot you have and the footage and all that, that's something they're gonna look at and go through what you would need for a certain amount of frontage for both lots. And the actual access that you have from wherever the street, the road would come in too. So just for your sake, before you enter into, something that is as an easement, that is something that's permanent, and just wanna make sure you do your homework to make sure that you're satisfied with what you're doing.
Well, I think the easement would probably be the best way to go at this point, right?
I can't tell you yes or no, that's up to you.
So I should see the planning board first.
I think it's your best bet to sit down in front of the planning board and kind of let them know what your thoughts are down the road with the, if you did want to break that up into 2 lots, are they 2 lots that meet the requirements as far as a buildable lot? Not saying that it's buildable, but meets requirements as far as footage and size.
Because I really don't want to do anything myself. I just want it for the future.
Well,
That makes
which
sense.
when you do an easement, it's permanent, so.
Yeah.
That's just for your sake to, cover all the bases and things like that. Talking to the planning board so you can kind of explain to them what you're doing, what your plans are. Maybe down the road, if that's the case, does happen, then you want to make sure that, it works out for what you want to do, or someone else wants to do down the road.
Okay, so then how do we leave it now?
I'd get in contact with the planning board to be put on their agenda, to just have them look at it. And it just, so you can get more information, I think.
But then after I do that, I'll come back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy for an easement for the town, but that's for the town. I mean, that's not,
in your,
that's your decision. What you feel is for your best interest.
I would get advice from your counsel. Who was it, Pat Melnick? Is that who you have?
Joe.
No.
Oh, wait, no. Yeah.
Is it out of Northampton?
He works in Northampton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But as Rick said, either way, the planning board, your attorney, your counsel, this is where this came from, just so you're making sure that you're entering into something that you're sure you want to do.
All right, thank you.
I'll give that back to Chris.
It's very simple, but I just want to make sure that you but it is to the point where I just want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to
Because
say,
it's permanent.
okay, I feel good with this decision, that's all.
Okay. Are you on the planning board?
Not anymore, no.
All right, I'll call them and
Yeah.
go there next. Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that education. That was interesting.
I mean, you don't have to, it's up to you. I'm not telling you have to go to the planning board, I'm just saying that's an option for you to do, that's all. To get more information as to what you want to do if you want to do something down the road.
Okay, well, the reason I had thought of going there, and then a few people I talked to said, well, they're just going to tell you what they can tell, they can tell you now, And if I'm not gonna do anything for 20 or 30 or sometime after I'm dead, it's all gonna be different anyway.
Well, it may not, there's things now that were the same 100 years ago, so.
The what?
There's things that are on, the part of the bylaws now that are the same 100 years ago, so, you know, you never know. But it's, I'm just saying it might be helpful to you. You don't have to go there, I just, you know, maybe, you know, just for information down the road, because you never know.
Okay, thank you.
Talk to Joe first.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Departmental reports. Did everybody get a chance to read them, including the ones
I
that
did,
came in
yeah.
today?
You seen what?
Did you see the ones that came in today?
They didn't come after 3 o'clock, and I saw them. If they didn't come after 3, I didn't see it then, I don't know.
I think it was before 3.
Those people through.
Yeah. All right then. Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the department reports.
Second?
I'll second Rick's motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Warrants?
You have 3 warrants in front of you. Warrant number 65, dated April 22, 2022, in the amount of $161,890.47. That is a bill paying warrant. You have warrant number 66, dated April 29, 2022, in the amount of $430,899.26. That is a payroll warrant. And warrant number 67, dated April 29, 2022, in the amount of $499,078.62. And that is the maintenance warrant that goes along with the payroll.
Make a motion that we approve and sign the maintenance warrant number 65, 66, and 67.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Special town meeting warrant.
Okay, we are scheduling a special town meeting for Monday, May 23rd, 7 p.m. at the East Meadow School. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-141-5112-000 the sum of $15,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of installing and upgrading the vision software for the assessor's department or taking the action in regard thereto. Their current vision version of their vision assessing software is now 10 years old. It is no longer going to be supported, so they need to upgrade as soon as possible. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-122-5120-000 the sum of $15,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of making repairs on the Council on Aging and Public Safety Complex water systems or take any other action in regard thereto. We currently are on a DEP boil order for those two, for this site and for the Public Safety Complex due to coliform being in the water. When we cambered this well here, we found that it is leaking. We finally got permission from DEP to replace it or install a Jaswell seal on this well here to take care of the leak in our current casing. And we also, at the Public Safety Complex, when they constructed the water storage system, they overbuilt the storage tank. They put 2 7,000-gallon storage tanks in. Based upon the current usage, we only need 1. So we contracted an engineer to design a new storage system, and we're going to be going down to 1 tank. And once that occurs, hopefully we'll get rid of the coliform and both sites and be able to get off the board. Article number 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-194-5480-000 the sum of $10,000 for the purpose of funding the public buildings department expense budget for FY 2022. We have overexpended the budget due to all the water testing and all the issues we've had trying to analyze and how to solve these two issues with DEP. And now we need another $10,000 in that budget to be able to make it through June 30th. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-194-5480-000 the sum of $4,000 for a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the audit department expense budget for FY 22. As a result of us getting all the COVID and federal grants, we hit the limit of $750,000 in grants. So now we have to do what's called a single audit. And that was an additional $4,000 to do the audit and file the proper paperwork with the federal government. So I need that. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-912-5300-000 the sum of $30,000 for a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the legal department expense budget for FY 2022. The reason we need this money is we did finally make it to court regarding the GRANBY Ma Gun Club. And we've had other issues regarding labor issues throughout the year that we've overexpended this budget also. And no, we have not received a decision yet from the court regarding the GRANBY Ma Gun Club, but we did have our day of court, or 2 days of court. Okay. Article number 6, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-194-5481-000 sum of $3,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the moderator department expense budget for FY 2022 or take any other action regarding thereto. This amount is, we did not budget for the rental of the electronic voting units. This will be the cost to rent for 2 meetings, the annual and this special town meeting. And hopefully it'll be something worthwhile, and then we may look at purchasing it in the future. To see if the town will vote to transfer from the snow and ice expense budget the sum of $40,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the fire department expense budget FY 2022 or take any other action in regard thereto. That one there is basically, we've overexpended, had more expenses than we anticipated on maintaining equipment and operating the fire department budget. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of funding the ambulance department personal services budget for FY 2022. That budget is projected to be overexpended due to the large amount of overtime that was required during the COVID and other items related to it. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer from account number 01-912-5300-000 to account number 30-122-5802-ART, special town meeting 2/14/19, number 06, water main, the sum of $66,527.57 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the Route 202 water main project or take any other action in regard thereto. Those were the costs that were incurred by us during the process of trying to design, permit, get the approval of the South Hadley Water District for our designs for the proposed Route 202 water project that the board had reluctantly had to postpone indefinitely due to the not being able to get it in before the Route 202 paving project. Article 10, 11, and 12 are zoning bylaw changes. Article 10, to vote to amend the bylaws of the town of Granby, Volume 3, Chapter 21, zoning bylaws, Section 1, authority, purpose, and definitions, Section 1.2, definitions, by adding definitions, Section 5, special use regulations and performance standards, Section 5.99, large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations by amending subsection 5.99.3, general siting standards, adding subsection A2, lot requirements, by adding an exemption for solar tariff generation units in prime farmland, unique farmlands, and additional land of state importance, as detailed in the planning board's report to town meeting, or taking any other action in regard to the two. Copies of the planning board report is available in the select board's office and on the town's website. And I attached their reports to the documents I gave the board for Article 10, 11, and 12. Article 11, to amend the bylaws of the town of Granby, Volume 3, Chapter 21, zoning bylaw, Section 1, authority, purpose and definitions, Section 1.2, definitions, by adding definitions, Volume 3, Chapter 21, zoning bylaws, Section 3, use regulations, Table 1, schedule of uses, 3.2, agricultural, adding 3.2.10, private event venues, in Section 5, special use regulations and performance standards, by adding Section 5.14, private event venue, establishing standards and criteria for permitting as detailed in the planning board's report to town meeting, or taking any other action in regard thereto. Copies of the planning board's report is available in the selectman's office and on the town's website, www.granby-ma.gov. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to amend the bylaws of the town of Granby, Volume 3, Chapter 21, zoning bylaws, Section 6, administration and enforcement. Subsection 6.3, site plan approval, amending subsections 6.32, application to clarify citation for peer review services. 6.34, procedures for site plan review to update procedures for efficiency, removing. 6.36, final action, renumbering enforcement to 6.36, and adding 6.37, appeal, with all revisions creating a more efficient, subjective site plan review process, as detailed in the planning board's report to town meeting, or take any other action in regard thereto. Copies of the planning board report is available in the selectman's office and on the town's website, www.granby-ma.gov. Given under this our hands, the 2nd day of May in the year of our Lord 2020.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve and sign the special town meeting warrants.
As read?
1
As
through
read.
Article 12.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Of course, I was making notes on the front page of it before I saw the little sign here, sign there.
I can pre-print the new page.
Thank you, sir.
Are we good to move on?
Are you ready for the next item? or-
Just waiting.
Go ahead.
You good?
Next item is to approve the signed charter day contracts. You want to go through each one by one?
Sure.
Okay, the first one we have is have Alligator Will Travel. The dates of engagement are June 10th through June 12th, 2022. Price $2,500. And this is with Jim Moulton. Then we have a trailer trash performance agreement. Date Friday, June 10th, 2022. Fee $2,600. Time 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. or to be determined. Next one after that is Parker's Portal. Fee of $2,150, and these are standard portable restrooms and cleaning thereof. Then we have Atlas Pyrotechnic proposal, the amount of $12,000. We have
Can I stop you for a minute?
Yep.
I do not have any of those in front of me.
No, I didn't put them, I didn't make additional.
They're just in her bag.
I
Okay,
have my own copies.
okay.
I made
Okay,
my own
that's
copies.
what I read online then, all this.
Yeah, I just printed it off.
Yeah, they're all on, if you
Got
want, I'll bring them up and you can read
No,
them.
that's okay.
Okay. Then we have Paul Redickler Rental Company, date 6/10/2022. This is for a 40 by 100 high peak tent, brown folding chairs, brown tables, globe lights, and a pet hermit for $1,877.44. But that we will be taking off the tax of $110.44 as we are tax exempt. And then we have the Mass Truck and Tractor Pulling, that association? Okay. For 2022, it will be on Friday, June 10th, starting time 5 p.m., with an approximate run time of 5 hours for a fee of $5,700. That's it.
The only thing that I have a question on is the one from Atlas,
Which one?
fireworks.
Fireworks, okay.
So I know that we had discussed how the price had doubled and it was up to 12,000, and I see that on the contract amount. However, the front page of that still has the 6,000. Do you know, Crystal, are the shots we're getting the 12,000?
Yeah, and she sent a new contract that I had forwarded to Chris that had the 12,000 on the front.
Oh, because, yeah, I didn't get that copy. I only have one that says
No,
6,000 on the front.
This is what I printed out from the one you sent me.
Okay, because the one that I
Yeah,
received, I'm pretty sure it says.
this one here on the signature page says 12, but on the front one it says 6.
Yeah, the contracted amount is correct at the 12,000. It's just the shots on the front, it looks like the duration is 15 minutes with 1,387 shots.
No,
So,
it should have, it's not going to double because they're going to shoot them off faster. They're not going to delay it another 15 minutes.
right,
But it should definitely prolong the shot.
so that would be more
So-
shots? Or is that 1,300 with the 12,000?
I would have to look at the contract, which I don't have in front of me. And we actually have the binder on my car that I can go grab.
Here, I'll give
We have
you-
a meeting at 7 tonight, so.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Kristen, here's what copy you sent me.
And then, I don't know if you guys noticed the postponement date, because I heard of Dufresne Rental on June 18th as well. So that was the only day that they could do the rain date if we keep it in June.
In which case, the Dufresne rental will have fireworks at
So I was
the...
gonna say they're supposed to be done at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So fireworks will be like 9:30.
they can stay for the fireworks, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I just want to compare this with the one I had from 2019 because I want to make sure that the shots line up with what was offered in 2019.
That was my question before we...
So I just grab my binder out in the car.
Sure, thank you.
Just so I can make sure that we are getting the correct number of shots before you guys sign it.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
I'll be right back.
If you have your reading along, if I have my phone with me.
That's why I have to print everything out, because I need it on paper. I can't read it from electronic.
What it'll be is, I'll start the meeting, I'll show up and see who's on this.
I think she's saying it says waiting for Bush to start.
Yeah, because right there at the end, it says, waiting to start.
That's what I think.
Now, is the board going to want to sign these directly, or do you want to authorize me to sign them?
Authorize you to sign them. The contracts?
Yeah, once we work out that firework.
I don't need to have my signature on them, do you?
No.
Especially if one has to be redone. What?
Only be the cover page.
Yeah, the contract amount's right.
Yeah, but if they're doing this, I want it all matched. I'm anal like that.
Yeah.
I said I'm anal like that.
No, I agree. Well, we should make sure we're getting what we're paying for.
Yeah, and that was just my concern because it said 6,000.
Yeah.
So I want to know what they're,
Yeah, if you could, because seeing how we adjourned the last meeting.
Yeah.
So we have to.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be in addition to what they originally quoted us at. So they quoted
so-
us, yeah, so it's going to be a total of, I just did the math over there, 2,598 shots, which back in 2020, they're going to give us 3 more shots than, for double the price, by the way. 3 more shots.
What a bargain.
I know, what a bargain. So it's in addition to what was originally, so this was the original one, and then they're adding the 1211, which I don't know why that's not in there.
So I wonder if they did it as two 6,000s.
Because that was the 6,000 that we had originally contracted, and then this was with the donation.
Right, okay.
So together, they would be added, so this will extend the show 5 to 7 minutes. So not doubling it, but it will extend it 5 to 7 more minutes, with a total of 2,598 shots.
Is that 2,598 shots anywhere in that contract that we got to sign?
No, it's only the price.
I think they only have the first 6,000.
Yeah.
Not the second, so when she added the 12,000, she forgot to add the paper with the additional shots
Okay.
because she had done it separately for Regina. And then I told her to add it all together, so I don't think she added it in on this contract.
Okay, she'll have to amend that,
Yeah,
correct?
so we've got to get that amended. But we'll give Chris permission to sign it, so we don't have to wait till our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're going to hold off signing fireworks contract. Crystal's going to have her amend it. It looks like what had happened was the cover page is for the first quote of 6,000, then they sent a separate for the donation amount. So it looks like our total number of shots will be 2,598, but we want to get it all on that one.
Okay, that's fine.
Like, 'cause originally we were getting half until the donation, right? I think that's what it was, so they kind of split up the contract for 2 different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they did that, they just didn't,
Yeah.
just a clerical error, it's not that. Does anybody have any questions on the other contracts?
No.
So we can
No.
get those signed and taken care of?
You're not,
All right, is there a motion to approve contracts minus the one for Atlas?
No. You're going to approve the Atlas one as amended.
Oh, yes, sorry. Can allow you to sign it.
I make an amendment that we approve and sign the charter date contracts and the Atlas one as amended,
And allow Chris to
and
sign.
allow for Chris to sign.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, for the next topic. FY 2023 sewer rates. Each year before town meeting, we approve the sewer rates based upon the sewer budget that is being brought forth to town meeting. The sewer budget for FY 2023 is $244,710, which is a 3% increase over and above the FY 22 budget. Based upon the 3 rates that we have. First one is for the community septic system users. The next rate is for what we call the 5 corners rate, which are all the people throughout the town of Granby, except, which is the 3rd rate, the people who will abut the South Hadley county line. Okay, because their pipes connect directly to South Hadley, so we have no maintenance costs for pipes related to those connections. The proposed FY23 rate for the community septic users is $276 per EDU, up from $267 per EDU, or a 3.37% increase. The 5 corners rate is proposed rate for FY 2023 is $635 per EDU, The FY22 rate is $639 per EDU, or a reduction of 0.63%. And mainly the reason for that is we have 5 more connections related to that rate when we approve the Cold Hill system. All those up there, I think there's 5 or 6 houses that were allowed to connect up there. And then the South Hadley abutting properties remains at $280, because that is what South Hadley charges us for a sewer user fee to ship our waste to their treatment plant.
Does anybody have any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve and sign the sewer rate.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And then the last topic is a amended conservation restriction for Gary and Cynthia Phelps of 137 Baxter Street. Because the town has signed off on the original conservation restriction, we now have to sign off on this proposed amendment, which basically reads, approval by Granby Board of Selectmen and acceptance as co-grantee. We, the undersigned, being a majority of the Board of Selectmen of the town of Granby, Massachusetts, hereby certify that a meeting duly held on May 2nd, 2022, the Board of Selectmen voted to approve the foregoing conservation restriction to Kestrel Land Trust pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 184, Section 32, and agreed to accept this conservation restriction as a co-grantee. It hereby acknowledges that this conservation restriction is in the public interest. And then what happens is, if you look on the very last page of your packet, you can see that they're adding an additional 17 acres, a little bit more than 17 additional acres to the conservation restriction that already exists.
So I'm a little confused by that. I mean, the area that looks like they're adding was the landlocked area. Where were the boundaries of it prior?
It excluded that yellow portion.
So it just excluded that little cutout portion?
Yep.
Okay.
The red boundary is the original. Okay. But what you would have done is extended the red line along those yellow lines originally. Okay. But now they just want to include it.
I don't know, it's adding 17 acres to it?
Yes.
Not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. Does anybody else have any questions?
Will be taxed differently now, though.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's downside for the town. It's
It'll
less
take
money.
17 acres off of the tax rolls.
Yes. So. But
Do we know what the taxes were approximately on that? I can't see that it would be,
It's probably in chapter 61 lands anyway, so it should be able to reduce straight.
yeah, I can't see it being a ton.
I have no issue with moving it as far as allowing it to
I have no issue with it.
go into that.
Nope.
I don't see the town wanting it.
No.
Well, it's landlocked.
Oh, no, there's a little space right next to the front range.
Just need an easement, that's all.
Just get an
One
easement.
little corner you can go.
You'll have to walk, we wouldn't be able to drive.
You're right.
All right, is
That's
there a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve and sign the conservation restriction on Bachelor Street.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does anybody have anything else they wish to address before we move on?
That's something, what was it? Oh, just what our, and I know Kathy's been off some time now, but maybe put on our agenda moving forward, and maybe next fiscal year, try to really kind of update our website, our town website. Look at what more information we can put on and stuff like that. It's more valuable, I guess, would be the word, to the residents. That's all. I know we talked about it some time ago, but maybe we can just revisit it again, see if there's,
I would vote for more user-friendly.
yeah, I'd like to see, maybe see what, people like to see on it. There's certain things that they go to the website or can click on stuff to get more information. Yeah, it's just something that we're, just a continuing thing to kind of look at it and make sure that we're trying to get as much information that we can that's on there. Helps people out when they're looking for certain things, so.
And the only other thing is I'd like to schedule a special meeting of the board for Wednesday at 5:30 to go over the fire chief's counter proposal to the board. Proposal for
So
appointment.
4th?
4th at 5:30. And that will be an executive session.
That'll be the only thing on our agenda.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm free.
Works for me.
I'll make it happen. I don't know. I don't have my phone, so I don't know my schedule for that Wednesday, but
All right.
Okay.
I'll make it happen. So I can deal with it.
That's the attitude.
It's in my calendar. It's in my calendar. All right, so we were scheduled to go into executive session under Mass General Law 30A-21-A-1.
Attorney Olin.
Yep, Attorney Olin is here. Hi there.
My client will be available.
Once we start that meeting,
We're
yep.
going to request an open session.
So we are going to request open session. Okay.
All right, let me start the meeting.
Can we take a short recess?
Yeah.
We can take a short recess.
Get that set up.
Chris, I
5 minutes?
replaced that.
All right, we'll recess for 5 minutes. We will be back at 6:40, which is actually 6
I did
minutes,
it.
but
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Where we left him?
Yeah, right where I left him.
Alrighty, I will call the meeting back to order. Can you two hear us? Okay, perfect. So, okay, you can see your attorney. I just wanted to make sure you saw that he was here, Kendall. And I just want to confirm with you that you are requesting that this be an open session. You are waiving the right to executive?
I am, thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to make sure because we had adjourned our last meeting, so the rules didn't apply. We had to ask again. So we're just revisiting what we had discussed last week, or last meeting, I apologize. Some questions had been asked and answered, and we had promised to get you a decision as to what was going to be happening as soon as we possibly could. First, I hope you're having a good vacation. Okay, so one of the questions you had asked was about a vest, going straight to the manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay,
I did contact the manufacturer. They do not sell direct, and they said exactly what Guardian Uniform told us, that we are looking at basically 3 to 6 months dependent. You can
Okay.
try home. Yeah, so I did reach out, took a couple days finally to get a hold of the sales rep, but they did confirm what Guardian had said. 1, they don't sell direct. 2, it is that kind of a time period, 3 to 6 months.
okay. So we don't have the option of getting a vest for her.
Correct.
Well, there's, also inquired, was there another agency or department that might have had one?
I did reach out to, I do a local chiefs meeting weekly,
Yep.
and nobody got
No,
noticed.
okay.
Okay. Do you have any other questions regarding that?
No?
All right. It's my understanding, Chief, that our policy states that she couldn't be on patrol regardless.
Correct, we do have a mandatory wear policy.
Okay. So in my eyes, that makes this a very easy conversation. I don't know if you two have any,
No, that basically was gonna answer the questions whether or not.
yeah, without a
it was
vest, we
available.
wouldn't put her on patrol, so
Yeah.
it will be a station position. I don't know how that's gonna work. Do you have any ideas?
I think I would ask Attorney Collins, do we come up with some kind of a MOU saying that she is on a modified work schedule, wouldn't be able to take any overtime patrol shifts, and, you know, if a dispatch shift came available when her number was up, you know, kind of some kind of agreement so everybody understands where this goes.
Jack, did you hear that?
I heard most of it. The question was whether or not there were overtime shifts available, would the officer be able to take them if those shifts required, obviously, outside the station duty. The answer obviously would be no. I don't think she was asking for that. I think she was asking for inside the station duty all the time anyways.
I agree, Attorney Collins, I'm just asking, should we come up with some kind of an MOU?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, assuming if the board decides that we want to make this accommodation, the only thing that's standing in the way right now is making sure we have an agreement with the union as well to make sure that they're not objecting at all. I don't expect they would, but obviously you don't have a light duty position per se. And as I understand from talking to the chief, he's going to do the best he can to find work around the station for the officer as she requested. And so long as the union doesn't have an objection to that, and doesn't interfere with any other union members' rights, then you ought to be able to get this worked out. It shouldn't be a long conversation. As I understand that she's also president of the union, but in this case here, I take it the other union members would have to vote to approve any kind of an agreement. Shouldn't be a problem, but we obviously have to cross that, check that off our list.
So what would happen, Jack, if the union did disagree? We can't, without a vest, we can't put her on patrol anyway.
Right. Well, assume the union said no to that. Okay, I don't assume that would be the case.
I don't either, but
Then you'd be in a position where the officer can't perform the essential functions of her job, which is really to do patrol work. You don't have a light duty position with the union, so if the union really objected, then she'd be in a situation where she could use available paid leave time or request unpaid leave time for any time that she couldn't work. It's a two-step process. I think if you want to talk to the union first, see if we can work something out, I'm very optimistic we could. But if they just blocked all that, then we'll be in the same position I mentioned last time. The law, requires you to make a reasonable effort to try to find accommodation without violating the collective bargaining agreement. So if the union claims that you were violating the contract, then we have to decide. If we think we're violating it, if we think we were, then we obviously can't. If we can find a way around that, we can take a look at that and say, okay, we'll take a chance and see whether we get a grievance and see what happens. That's not a good position for anybody to be in, so I recommend that we talk with the union immediately, try to work out an agreement. This is agreeable. I take it by now there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes discussion about this, so the union certainly won't be caught off guard. And if they're cooperative, I don't see a reason why if you decide to have the chief try to find work for her around the station, you could do that. And whether it's going to be every single shift that she's scheduled for, whether it's to work in the station as a police officer, or to do some dispatching, or whatever it might be, I think it's all doable. There's no reason we would be prevented from doing that if the union cooperates. And if they don't, then I'll have to give you some advice about whether the union is wrong about their position, but we haven't done that yet.
Okay. Thank you.
If I have a response to that legal position. All due respect, I believe it is inaccurate. The union is not an arbiter of this particular law in this particular circumstance, so their agreement is not required. And indeed, I heard counsel suggest that if in the, sounds like an unlikely event that the union would not agree with this, then the recourse would be either paid leave or unpaid time for Officer Hill. Respectfully, the law does not require that. Indeed, what the law does require would be for the town, as we suggested before, to come up with an undue hardship. Whether or not union recalcitrance constitutes undue hardship is not a per se question in any way, shape, or form. This law exists outside the collective bargaining agreement, so the union would not be the tail wagging the dog in this respect. I do agree with counsel, however, that I wouldn't suspect that the union would object in this instance, but I don't have any independent knowledge of that. I'm certainly not having conversations with the union myself, but I'm concerned that the advice that you're getting on this point is inaccurate.
Yeah, I don't see any.
We have not yet the debate between lawyers, so I take it that two lawyers can always disagree, and two judges can disagree. So in any event, I'm not going to change my brother counsel's opinion and vice versa. So at this point in time, I don't think that's necessary to resolve that issue. I think we should make a good faith effort to try and get the union to agree, and then cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
I think we need to start off with MOU,
Yeah.
so we know what is the responsibility.
What's the responsibilities?
Her job responsibilities would be in a position.
So the board's, and make sure I'm reading this correctly, the board's position would be that if in fact we can legally do it, then you would ask the chief to find work for Officer Hill in the station without the requirement of wearing a uniform or wearing a vest for all the time between now and the time that she delivers the baby, as much as possible. Hopefully full time, and that's at least our position, that's what we recommend to the union, and try to make that happen. Is that what I'm hearing from the board?
Yeah, well, I don't have a concern or an issue with her wearing a uniform if she has a uniform that she feels that fits her correctly inside the station. She is a police officer, so if she's inside the station, I would like to have her have a uniform on that represents who she is, why she's there.
I always say really her work will be in the station, whether she's uniformed or not, between obviously her and the chief and so on, that's fine.
Yes.
Yes.
We won't we'll not have her leave the station without a vest. She says we can't provide a vest for her, and at this point in time, she won't leave the station to fulfill duties as a police officer, period. I think we're in agreement on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, we couldn't get a duty belt for it, correct?
It's kind of a moot point if we can't get a vest.
If we can't get a
Yeah,
vest, the duty
yeah.
belt doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that in mind, if the direction of the board is that we will try to make a reasonable accommodation for all the things we're just talking about now. No outside duty, and we'll direct the chief to do the best he can to find work for her in the station, whether it's as a police officer or as a dispatcher. We'll try to fill all the shifts that otherwise she'd be assigned to on a regular basis from now until the time that she feels that she can come back to work, presumably through the time that she delivers the baby. If I'm reading that correctly, then I think tomorrow I'll contact the union and start getting that ball rolling right away.
Okay.
Kendall, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, that sounds fine. I would just like to add that if you want me to stay in uniform, I will probably need bigger pants and shirts at this point, so just throwing that in there.
It doesn't matter to me whether in uniform or not. I don't know if you feel more comfortable being in a uniform while you're inside the police station, so you're recognized as a police officer. That's totally up to you, or chief. I don't have either way. I don't. I know if you know, sometimes being in the police department, being inside, you know, people recognize you when you have a uniform on. So, but that's completely up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, it's up to the chief really, so whatever he wants me to wear, I don't care.
And I think on your behalf, Kendall, we also just want to make sure that we're clear when you come back from vacation specifically what that arrangement will be. It sounds like we're moving towards that modified duty arrangement, but we'll want to see kind of clearly what that's going to be.
And that will be the MOU.
Yes.
Again, how do we expect to hear what this MOU is? Like, is it going to be emailed or?
My expectation would be I contact whoever the chief tells me is the appropriate person. It sounds like the business agent, since you're the union president, you're not there, and we can't really negotiate individually with individual employees who talk to the business agent first, and you would lead us in the right direction. And you have to call a union meeting or something like that at an appropriate time.
Kendall, when do you do back to work from vacation?
I will be back home May 14th.
That would be your first day back at work, May 14th? Schedule.
I think,
Tuesday the 17th, probably.
yeah, well, yes, for a regular patrol shift. I do teach the first responders CPR on the 16th as well in the evening.
Correct.
My first regular scheduled shift is the 17th.
Yeah. So I mean, that basically gives us 2 weeks. I can't imagine that we would be able to come up with an MOU, an agreement, and Jack reach out to the union within 2 weeks to have everything settled before you return to work.
Does anybody else have anything else?
No, I think for some reason that we don't, something comes up and we don't have it worked out by then, I think she can just return back to what she was doing before she went on vacation.
Well, yeah, Kevin will just,
Right, yeah, so that's,
We'll get
right.
there.
Yep.
I'm sure the MOU will get worked.
Yeah.
I don't see why it shouldn't at this point.
Quick question for the board. With Kendall being on vacation, would you like us to send any draft to her attorney in her stead, and then we can go over it with her?
That's up to Kendall.
I'm sorry, I can't really hear.
Kendall, I was asking, if an MOU is developed, would you want us to forward it to your attorney for him to go over and then discuss it with you, or do you want us just to send it to you?
Yeah, you can send it to myself and the attorney as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a question.
That was a good question. That way we know where documents are going. All right. Do you have anything else for us?
No,
Okay.
All right, we'll let you go back to vacation then.
thank you.
Attorney Holland? Do you have anything further you want to say?
None at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, thank you, Jack.
Good night, Jack, thank you. All right. Geez, everybody cleared out fast and we didn't even finish the meeting yet.
There's only 2 people.
Their pizza must be ready. Or the fried onion rings.
I want pizza. All right. Does anybody else have anything else? In that case, is there a motion? To go home?
To adjourn. Waiting on you, Rick. If not,
I'm gonna start
I'll
making
make a
my own
motion.
motions here.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second Rick's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.